Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network, a division of the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network. The following program broadcast is an original creation by the broadcast entity. Discussion within the following broadcast should be used for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice or consultation. Before considering application of any broadcast content in the following program, please consult your healthcare provider. If you feel you are having a medical emergency, please contact your local health services for immediate assistance. MS&Me Media and the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network do not guarantee or warrant the accuracy of information in the broadcast to follow. The Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network provisions broadcast services to program hosts. Information discussed in the broadcast does not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or goals of the network and are solely those of the show broadcast host. Should you wish to host a broadcast, please visit our website at msmemedia.com and submit a request to become a program host. We thank you for listening to the MS&Me Radio Network. Enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of MS Gamer's Hut. And I'm your host, Ted Michael. Last week I reviewed a few fun cartoon tie-in games. Hope you found one that you liked. This week I'm reviewing movie tie-in gaming apps. The first one I'm going to review is called Interstellar. Like in the movie Interstellar, the game has players searching the cosmos to find a new suitable home for the human race. Unfortunately, there's no Matthew McConaughey here. The actual gameplay is separated into two sections. In one section, the players build their own little galaxies, and the level of scientific details is just spectacular. Players can create planets of different shapes, sizes, and even materials like gas or metal, and watch as their colors, orbits, and gravity fields change accordingly. They can customize stars and moons as well. With their galaxies in place, players can then move on to the second, more substantial exploration phase, using liberally wonky space flight controls like a cross between acceleration of asteroids and the momentum of lunar lander. Players traversed user-generated solar systems, harvesting resources as effectively as possible, or efficiently as possible. This means letting the natural gravitational pull of celestial bodies draw their ships into orbit as they collect precious fuel. However, staying in orbit while preventing deadly crashes requires a delicate balance of starting and stopping, and in excellent mind-boggling final touch. Players must also be wary of the realistic effects of travel through the space-time continuum and try to keep their mission as close to Earth time possible. But while the level of detail in this system is fascinating and admirable, actually playing Interstellar will leave players as cold as space itself. Even with the occasional meteor dodging mini-games between levels, the game just feels like work. Important work to save humanity, but work all the same. Galaxies are also tiny, limiting the creation mod's potential and failing to deliver an awe-inspiring sense of scope to make up for the tedious, repetitive labor. Having said that, though, I don't think that makes the game a failure. While not necessarily an enjoyable gameplay experience, the apparent realism makes it an intriguing intellectual exercise that seems to be investigating the same desperate sci-fi themes of the film itself. Like I said earlier, Interstellar may be a part of a new breed of mobile movie tie-ins. As a game, it might not be great, but that may not be an accurate label anyways. The next game I'm going to review is called Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, the Telltale series, or the Telltale series. Telltale Games' first swing at a Guardian of the Galaxy story brought back a lot of good feelings, not memories necessarily, but just good feelings. The Guardians of the Galaxy are our best hope against the incredible threat to life as we know it. which, given that our fates lies in the hands of Star-Lord and the rest of the motley crew of the Milano, isn't necessarily great news. But they're all we've got, and they're in command of them all in Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, the Telltale Tales series. All 5 parts of the episodic adventure game based on the comic books franchise that also inspired the hit film franchise, while tussling with the mighty Thanos, who is making good on his nickname of Destroyer of Worlds. The Guardians have come across a powerful relic that is bound to put them even deeper in trouble as forces from across the galaxy try to take it from them. This app is basically does episode series. There's 5 of them, and this review is really covering the first one. So the first episode, called Tangled Up in Blue. Yet as all this was going on, Guardians of the Galaxy radiated a good times vibe worth preserving. Telltale put me among a gang of misfits who really need each other and threatened just enough to break that all up that it influenced my decision. The developer's narrative catalog, spanning The Walking Dead, Batman, and Borderlands, is best when it feels myself leaning into it, with reading a good paperback or a captive comic book. But when the story starts to slip in a direction I don't like, I get to put a thumb on the scale to bring it all back. Guardians of the Galaxy's The Telltale series first chapter is perfect that. There are 2 big fights in Guardians of the Galaxy's first chapter, but its real conflict is spoiler proof. The team is, big surprise, at each other's throat. The grudges largely develop through my dialogue choices after the first action sequence. It's not like everyone starts out pissed at one another with all the exploratory dialogue that would require. I put things in a bad spot when I started bad talking Rocket for talking bad to Drax. As big and mighty as Drax is physically, he is earnest and emotionally delicate, and I don't want someone so destructive to check out in a key situation. I try to patch things up with Rocket, but endorsing one of his typically tasteless ideas in the chapter's major choice that alienates Gamora, who likewise needs emotional support, but also has to be told to stop whining. She was reeled back in by choosing her for the major mission, where her performance, I thought, was a lot stronger than Drax's would have been. As for Groot, well, he's a tree. Just put him out when he catches on fire. Looking back, I'm pretty sure there isn't some dramatically divergent path from the outcome I reached, but in context, at the time, I generally couldn't be sure that more than investigation puzzles or quick time events is what validates this type of a video game. Guardians of the Galaxy weaknesses are rather common to Telltale's games, but they don't injure the overall story. There's always a risk that in a scene you get to the critical dialogue or discovery before hearing all of the other conversation options or seeing everything in the setting, making all the leftover stuff difficult to introduce or even irrelevant. There were 2 sequences where I got to the point a little too quickly, and so someone playing this chapter needs to do so more as a director than as a gamer trying to 100% everything. The game's most emotional pivotal scene connected with me, though. There are 2 very touching flashbacks involving Star-Lord and his mom that anchor Telltale's take on the group to its overall lore. In between, is a striking opportunity for empathy with the game's first big adversary. Both proceeds rather linearly in only one choice that isn't really connected to anything. Yet, as Guardians of the Galaxy branches paths gave me direction over the story. The dialogue options in these scenes gave me ownership of it. Guardians of the Galaxy is crisply illustrated, though not in the stylish inked comic book style of The Walking Dead or The Wolf Among Us, nor the signature look of Minecraft or Borderlands. The art is more of a mainstream animated series look. There are some noticeable pauses between scenes, tipping off that the game is queued up something important, and weird endings to dialogue choices made out of order. Guardians of the Galaxy doesn't seamlessly fit together all of the moving parts, even if together they make a very charming comic book story. And that's where Guardians of the Galaxy hit me most. The first chapter's conflicts and outcome may be conventional, but so were the ones in the weird comic books. My best friend's older brothers stored in bread bags, which we'd read as fast as we could before he got home from football practice to terrify us. The feeling of wanting to read the next issue is just the same too. The next game I'm going to talk about is Power Rangers Legacy Wars. The Power Rangers movie released alongside two licensed tie-in video games. The first game, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Mega Battle, is a side-scrolling beat-em-up with that received low review scores. The second game is Power Rangers Legacy Wars and is rather decent, but that is the key word, decent. Several design choices work, some don't, and a few make me tilt my head and ask, what were they thinking? Power Rangers Legacy Wars is a fighting game, not unlike Marvel's Contest of Champions. While most mobile fighting games make players attack repeatedly tapping the middle of the screen, gamers attack in Legacy War by tapping ability cards. Each ability is different. Some are fast and weak, some are slow and strong, some are melee, some are ranged, some are blocks and counters. Some abilities can even be strung together to form combos. Furthermore, the attacks follow a rock, paper, scissors system. Weak attacks cancel stronger attacks. Strong attacks break through blocks, and blocks prevent weak attacks. No two attacks have the same wind-up, hitbox, or animation. Moreover, each character uses his or her iconic weapon. Finally, Legacy Wars channels AAA team-based fighters by letting players supplement their main characters with allies. While limited to one main character and two allies, players can still create their dream team of Power Rangers, including a Forever Red themed team. The progression in in Power Rangers Legacy Wars is what people might expect from a mobile game, but slightly more lenient. As with many mobile games, players can only unlock characters by collecting shards that either can be bought directly in the in-game store with coins or earned through morph boxes. All boxes come in various rarities and are mostly earned by winning matches, but players also have the ability of opening free morph boxes and corrupted boxes. Every 4 hours, players can open a free morph box, and corrupted boxes are earned through dealing damage in matches. Even players with horrible losing streaks can eventually open a corrupted box. Very few mobile games give participation awards, daily login rewards notwithstanding. Despite my praise of Power Rangers Legacy Wars fighting system, it is ironically also the worst aspect of the game. The system is luck-based, and players can easily find themselves backed into a corner because their opponent is lucky enough to draw numerous knockbacks and or juggling ability cards. The vast majority of my losses were the result of my opponents lucking out with exact way when I could not draw any block ability cards. The system's reliance on luck rather than skill brings the game down. As with many mobile games, Power Rangers Legacy Wars has a heavy pay-to-win aspect. Players who have more money than time can buy numerous morph boxes to power up their characters by obscene amounts. However, the most erogenous pay-to-win part of the game is that the most popular Power Ranger in history, the original Green Ranger, Tom Oliver, is locked behind a limited time $10 paywall. As of writing this article, as writing the script for this, the Green Ranger cannot be earned through morph boxes, which gives the game a very haves and haves not feel. One I am constantly reminded of every time I see a player with that character. Also, I am fairly certain that the Green Ranger is overpowered and gives players who use him an unfair advantage. Power Rangers Legacy War is PvP only. I am on the fence about the game's PvP exclusion because I do not know if it is a questionable or a genuinely bad design choice. Granted, nothing is wrong with PvP only games, but every one of my matches had varying degrees of lag. I encountered several instances when the game no longer responded. It did not crash, but I could no longer move my character, and ability cards did not activate in a timely fashion. Furthermore, the game opens with a story cut screen, but the lack of a single player mode prevents the story from going anywhere. Of course, a future patch that adds a single player mode could easily fix this problem. While Power Rangers Legacy Wars is supposed to be a celebration of the entire Power Rangers franchise, the game is somewhat lacking in characters, both playable and allies. Primarily, the game contains characters from the movie and the first season of the Power Rangers, and most other seasons receive one or two characters. For example, the Blue Dino Charge Ranger is both a playable character and an ally, yet the loading screen prominently features a Violet Dino Charge Ranger. Furthermore, numerous seasons do not receive any representation, especially seasons that have 3 Ranger teams. Finally, the game has little in the way of non-Ranger characters. Goldar, Psycho Red, Snide, and the 2017 movie version of Rita Repulsa are all playable. And Xandard is available as an ally, but Ninjar, Magnar Defender, Mesogog, King Mondo, and others, and many other are absent from the game. Most erroneously of all, even though Lord Zed's throne room is a stage in the game, Lord Zed is nowhere to be seen. However, a future patch or patches could easily add these characters, and I might be in the minority when saying this, but I hope the game adds Ivan Ooze from the 1995 Power Ranger movie. Very rarely can I say a movie tie-in mobile game is better than a much more high-profile non-mobile movie tie-in game, but Power Rangers Legacy Wars managed to surprise me. The game might be flawed, but it tries to set itself apart from other mobile fighting games, which is something I can appreciate. The next game I'm going to review is Fast and the Furious Legacy. Fast and the Furious Legacy is a game that I only played because I wanted to review it. Now that I know that may sound dumb and perhaps a little unfair to the developers, but allow me to explain. I love the movies, I love cars, I love driving games, and this one is an action-packed racer with some of the most generous graphics I've ever seen on mobile. If the developers would stick a price tag on it, then they'd have themselves an instant buy, but it's free to play, and that is a big no-no for me. It's not interesting in waiting for timers. I'm not interested in waiting for timers, paying for coins and gems, and eventually having the game try to slip its grubby fingers into my wallet. I don't want a game that is designed around being too hard to beat with skill alone. Here's my message to developers. You make a good game and I'll buy it. That's the deal. So why review a free-to-play game? Well, simply because there are lots of people who like them, refuse to play them. So I thought I'd have one of the Fast and Furious Legacy has a loose storyline structured around a series of races against characters from the films. You start with drag races in Miami, progress to drift races in Tokyo, then back to more drag racing in Miami and on to Rio. I played to the fourth chapter, and the races were all very short and repetitive, with every game in Race in Miami going along the same couple of miles of repetitive shore road. Every race in Tokyo going around the same multi-story car park with some variances of route. Give me long citywide races any day. There are no tilt controls or on-screen buttons for steering. Instead, you're locked in lane and you tap the left or right of the screen to change lanes. I couldn't say if this control mechanism has been done before, but it's the first time I've encountered it, and I'd like to see it become standard in mobile racers. Gaming time for me is often about multitasking, and I don't want to be using my phone like a steering wheel when I'm out walking the dog. Drifting 2 is handled perfectly with you sliding your finger across the screen to control the drift angle and keep the nose of your car on the guide arrows. During some races, you'll attract police attention, but you don't need to worry about outrunning them. Just swerve to avoid the ones ahead of you as they try to block the road. Winning drag races usually come down to the first couple of seconds. If you can get a perfect start and then either nudge your opponent to the side or get cleanly in front of them, chances are you're going to win. A lot of the fun comes from trading paints, forcing your opponents to crash into other cars or pushing them off the road, etc. There's a great sense of speed with civilian cars and the beautifully rendered cities whizzing past at a terrific rate. There is even some originality in the jumps you can go over, which I don't spoil by describing them, but there's much better than the usual car transporters and construction ramps. The music is suitably high energy and pumping. I'll bet the same track over and over again, but at least it's a good one. Sound effects are less spectacular, with high-pitched engine noises that quickly become grating, like trying to play in a dentist's surgery. I know that high-performance cars can be quite pitchy in real life, but it's not something I want to hear in a video game. There's even a large bug that causes your car's engine noise to continue grinding away on the end of a race screen, and it's just plain obnoxious. You can form crews with other players, but you don't race together. Depending on how well you do in your own races, you can help your buddies by speeding up their car repairs, but that's about it. Overall, there is a very close to being a perfect mobile racer, thanks largely to the simple controls. The only thing it's really crying out for is a longer courses and nicer engine sounds. I've had a good few hours of entertainment from Fast and Furious Legacy without any need to spend real world money. It looks like my credit card is safe for a while longer. There was one point very early on during the tutorial, in fact, when the game was quite aggressive about trying to sell me a car to the extent that it wouldn't even let me continue playing unless I went into the store to review the deals. But so far, that has been a one-off. Each race has a minimum entry requirement, and if your car's performance index is too low, then you have to upgrade before you can take part. This is one of the key choke points where the game will surely be asking for money at some point. But so far, I've been able to upgrade using only currency earned from racing. Either by bug or design, the minimum performance rules only applies to you, not your opponent. My opponent is clearly 5 points too low. After a few races, you need an oil change, which has a 2-hour timer. You can accelerate the timer with speed up cards. With you receive an occasional bonus, or you can buy them if you run out. Crew members can also help speed up the timer. I've had a playing Fast and the Furious Legacy, but I'd still prefer to pay a premium price and know that the whole game is there for me to explore and enjoy without the spectacular of a purchasing thing floating around on indeterminate horizon. No doubt, it spoils the game knowing that I'm only going to be able to play so far before the carefully constructed difficulty curve ramps up and I have no choice but to pay or stop playing. And make no mistake, I won't pay for in-game currency. I see it as a bottomless pit. Right now, I don't know if I'll get another 5 or 50 races before I run out of cash. Suppose my free to ride runs out tomorrow and I decide to sink $4 into the game for some currency. Maybe that will last a week, or maybe it will last a day. Who knows? And what if I want to play through the game again someday? No, like many others who would happily pay a premium price, I'm fixed in my belief that paying for in-game currency is out of the question. Playing and enjoying the game has done nothing to change that. What we're got here is a well-designed, beautiful game with great controls. I heartily recommend it. If you're happy with the in-game purchases, then go crazy, knock yourself out. If, like me, you're not willing to pay, then congratulations, you've got a really fun game for free. But your experiences is going to be hampered by the persistent threat of paywalls lurking somewhere around the next corner. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode of MS Gamers Hut. As usual, I'd like to thank MS&Me Radio for giving me the opportunity to share my passion for games, and my listeners, because without you, there would be no MS Gamers Hut. Next week, I'll be checking out some real-time strategy games. Goodbye, and keep gaming.